So I think I need to tell you the truth. Today it's a pretty gloomy day. I may have to run in underneath the porch, pause this video recording until it stops raining, if it starts raining again. That's just kind of the reality of how things work. Have you ever noticed that when you're scrolling through YouTube off-grid videos, I mean, you type in off-grid in your search bar, all these videos come up, and I hope my videos show up in your search. I tell you, I watch every one of my videos and I get about 2 that shows up in the search, but the rest of them, the thumbnails look fake to me. I mean, I know people criticize me and the way I do things, and that's fine, but I try to make a vlog. I'm trying to show the realities of off-grid, and so to compete against these other off-grid channels is sometimes impossible, because I would say 60% of them are probably fake, or they're in such huge debt that it's not even realistic to be off-grid. If you think about it, the only way you can really live off-grid is if you do what we did. Buy a cheap piece of property, build a tiny house, establish your own solar panels. Hopefully it's got a well on the property, and you just piece it together the best you can and hope that it works. The other way to do it is, let's say you had a home and it's got some equity in it. So you sell the home, most likely you did not get all the money that it was worth. So if you sold it for $500,000, you have $100,000 in equity, especially these young couples. And that's what I normally see, is younger couples going off grid. They go and buy 20 or 30 acres. I don't believe that they're debt free. I think I'm the only one, maybe the only one. There might be a couple that it said they're debt free living off grid. I know there's this other one, he lives off grid, and he's got to be in so much debt. It's just got to be crazy. I never spend more than what we can afford. So we're scrolling through, and a lot of them that say off-grid have women that are mostly unclothed. And so these have the biggest views, and I find that strange. I mean, I don't watch those videos. I'm going to elaborate that on in a minute. I don't watch those videos because I know it has nothing to do with off-grid. My guess is the majority of them don't even have the naked woman in the video naked. So you're clicking on a video expecting to see a naked woman, not an off-grid channel, but a naked woman, and you're not even getting that. So, you know, they got all these views. It's just incredible. There's these ones with the Asian women, and they're always doing something inappropriate in the thumbnail. Scrolling through this, and I'm discussing this idea with Carolyn about the truth. And she says, well, click on one of those videos and see if the woman is actually unclothed. Maybe they are getting millions of views because there's actually inappropriate material in the video, which I know YouTube rules. I mean, that would seem pretty unlikely, but okay. So I clicked on it, and I didn't watch it. I kind of fast forward through it. Now this girl, the thumbnail, she had her back, it was naked. You know, it was obvious she didn't have any clothes on. She's got this huge back tattoo. So I'm scrolling through it, and there's nothing. What it did have in it was a guy in it about my age, maybe a little older, with this young gal. I begin to wonder how old his channel is, because he's got 40,000 subscribers, but he's getting hundreds of thousands of views on these videos. That doesn't add up. Typically, you'll get one trending video, maybe, especially if it's in season, maybe you'll get 10 trending videos in your season. But the rest of the time, you're lucky to get 10% of the views of your subscribers. So if you got 40,000 subscribers, you get 4,000 views in about 10 days. I'm not even getting that right now because I'm way out of season. I should be coming into season soon, hopefully next month. My YouTube channel will be back in season. It usually happens right around this time. I start to think, huh, this has got to be a new channel, and all of a sudden he's growing, it's something. So I go to the oldest video, and the oldest video is 3 years old. So it's not a new channel, and he's got the same kind of content, living off grid in a boat. But I noticed something different in this earlier thumbnail. It's a different female, a little bit older, a little bit more worn, you know, just life. So then I started scrolling, and then I've noticed that he's had several females through his journey in the last 3 years. And this latest one apparently doesn't mind taking off a shirt for thumbnails. So this is how, you know, they get views. This is very hard to compete with. And then you get into the video, and even if you went in there because of the naked woman, you get into the video and you realize, oh wow, look at this off-grid channel, and everything is fancy. And here's an example. My solar panels are laying on the ground. I get hundreds of complaints, maybe thousands of complaints about them being on the ground. Get them off the ground, make them look respectable. And so you look at these off-grid channels and they got them off the ground, and it's just a complete beauty. And the video is edited like a movie. Like some big-time director Steven Spielberg came in and edited this video. When you're living off-grid, my computer is a tablet. It's a Windows tablet. It's a few years old now, but it's the second one I've owned, because it's what I can power off the solar panels. If I get anything much bigger, it really uses a lot of electricity that I don't want to use up. I don't get more solar panels, and that's because you've watched these big channels who are in massive debt showing you these big systems. Well, I have mine on the ground, and I have them on the ground for a reason. They stay cooler on the ground. Even with this tarp, I've noticed. That was my big concern. I used a blue tarp when I moved the solar panels up here. I was worried that the blue tarp would absorb that sunlight. I thought, well, I would replace it with a white tarp eventually, because white tarps don't rot as much for one thing, and then it wouldn't be so hot. But I got my little laser thermometer out here, and I held the solar panel up off the ground with some blocks. So I held one up. I had the rest of them on the ground. And the ones on the ground were like 10 degrees cooler than the one up in the air. Well, if you know anything about solar panels, you want to keep them as cool as possible, because you lose voltage. After 78 degrees, they start to drop in voltage. It may not look pretty, but this is the reality. And so these off-grid channels, they give you a false sense of what it's all about. I know there's this one couple, they talk about living off-grid. They've been living off-grid just slightly longer than we have. And all they've been doing is building. It's not an off-grid channel. It's a let's build something channel. They've built houses and garages and barns, and it's just constantly. They're at the store, at Home Depot, or Lowe's, buying materials, and then the two of them put it together. Now, I will admit that channel doesn't expose the female, but they use the female in the thumbnails, and you can always see when the female is in the thumbnail, they get better views than they do with just the male in the thumbnail. Now, it may sound like I'm complaining, and I don't think I am. I mean, I really discussed this with Carolyn. These people are sending you a false sense of what it's like to live off-grid. The thing you have to understand is, it is wonderful to live off-grid. Even the way I do it. The realistic way. This is amazing. I really do enjoy it. I was worried it was going to rain, but the sun's coming up. Maybe we'll get a little bit of a charge. And see, that's another thing. Is when I'm on video and the sun comes up, I'm like, hey, check this out. I'm going to get a little bit of charge. You don't see that from other channels. You always see a perfect blue sky day. Everything's perfect. They only make videos when everything's going to work out for their camera. Everything is about social media, especially with the younger folks. And I just want to share the experience with you. And I really want to encourage people to live their dreams. So the reality is no, I'm not going to clean up my mess for YouTube. So you can have this false, we have chickens here. And I was thinking about this. I had a similar setup in town. There was chicken wire in the yard, homemade chicken coop. The only thing I didn't have was the tarp, but we didn't have a big problem with eagles in that town. We live close to a lake here, so eagles come flying through and they'll swoop down and get these chickens. Didn't have that problem. That's why I didn't have a tarp back there. There's nothing wrong with this setup. The chickens are very happy, but it's got to be pretty in order for you to buy it. In order for you to say, hey, this is cool, it's got to be appealing to the eyes. Here's another example. Got a little camper so Carolyn's son could stay here. Well, I mean, we got it for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons so Carolyn's son can stay here. We got groundhogs here. Boy, they're really lifting up the dirt. Wow, that's incredible. I'm sinking. Well, that's not a very nice camper. You should have gotten something a little better. The reality is Carolyn and I don't spend a lot of money. And to us, this is the dream, not the fancy stuff. Carolyn just said this the other day. She said, I used to be jealous all the time of people who have big fancy houses. I said, do you feel that way now? She says, no. I said, well, I guess that's what age does to you. It makes you kind of get a realistic view of things. She said, no, that's not it at all. She says, back then, I worked my tail off and I didn't have anything, just paying bills. But here, I know that if I wanted it, we could go get it. We don't need to have the most beautiful, picturesque scenery so you'll watch the videos. Don't get me wrong. I like when my videos do well. I want people to learn, though. That's the big thing. I want them to understand what the reality is. And when you're comparing me to people who I know are not really living off grid, or they're in so much debt that they may as well not live off grid. Part of my definition of living off grid is I'm not connected to the power, so nobody has control over me with the electric. They can't shut my electric off and make me pay extra utilities, or I can only run my air conditioner from 8 a.m. to noon. Otherwise my rates go up. I can do whatever I want with my electric. It's not a lot of electric, but I can do whatever I want with it. If you live on a piece of land that the bank owns, something happens, you break your foot and you can't work for a few days, then the bank can come and take your property when you get behind. So you're not off grid, you're not self-reliant, you're not self-sufficient. You are expecting someone to take care of you so you can live on their land. I live on my land. No matter what happens in society, my finances, nobody can take this piece of property away from me. Nobody. Well, Carolyn could, I guess I should say, but nobody else could. It is paid for. It's cheap. Nobody's gonna want it. There's not a lot of value here. Oh, what about taxes? My taxes are $42 a year. It went up when we built the tiny house. Well, they could raise it, you know. Well, it's unlikely they're gonna raise my taxes. The reason is we live in a very poor area. Nobody could afford high tax rate around here. They just move out. I'm not putting anything on it that's of value. When you build a $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 home on a piece of property and you got all this fancy stuff, your taxes are gonna go up. I hear people, I can't afford my taxes. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year. Mine's $42 a year. Well then, get rid of the house. Get something that you can afford. You can't afford taxes because you have a house you can't afford. Taxes are part of no, the government's just trying to kill us. That's what government does. Either you figure out how to live realistically, or you live in the dream world where you got a young girl posing naked in pictures for you so you can make YouTube videos, or you live with your solar panels on the ground. The other thing I see with off-grid channels, that's one aspect. Then the other aspect is the fear-mongering. There's a really popular YouTube channel, off-grid YouTube channel, and it's went completely to let's just fear, 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 fear. And I know I sometimes do a fearful video. I'm not denying that at all, but the majority of my videos are like this one where I'm trying to explain to you the realities of a happy life. There are times in my life where I am frustrated with politics or government or something to that effect, and I'll make a fearful video. And that's to be expected. This is a vlog, so I share my life with you. I share the way we live, and when something affects me, I want to share it with you. But I'm not sharing that kind of video just to get more views. Typically they do get more views, but I don't do it just to get more views. I do it because this is what's happening, and this is how I feel today. And this is what I need to share with you today. And today I want to share with you that a lot of them are lying to you. Now, I know the trolls are going to tell me all the things I do wrong with my channel, and I'm being a hypocrite and all that. I am not trying to do anything more than have a vlog. Sometimes we have to do things to make that vlog work. But I'm never going to lie about the actual reality of living off grid. And a lot of them do. They're either trying to fear you into watching their channel or lie to you about watching their channel. And this is just the reality. This is how it works. Solar panels on the ground. You have a shed that stores your components. You had an old camper that was here because that's what you moved into while you built your tiny house. and you got a chicken coop with a tarp over it so the eagles. Well, some will say, well, you should build something better for those chickens. Then the chickens are no longer profitable. Chickens don't make that much money. They give you an egg. Why would I spend $2,000 or $3,000 to get an egg? It doesn't make sense. As long as they're healthy and happy, then I don't see why you need to spend anything on it at all. So my point is folks should try to realize the fakeness of some of these off-grid channels and think about the reality. That way you actually know what you're getting to. Don't get me wrong, this is a wonderful life, but it's not with naked women running all over the place. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about how wonderful it is to live here. So I hope I can inspire you to think realistically so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.